Growing up, the misinformation that we had about sickle cell was that anytime we saw somebody that looked slim and pale, we assumed they were sickler. And as time goes on, I've come to realize that the fact that somebody looks pale or slim doesn't necessarily mean they have sickle cell disorder. I've come to understand that there are people that are living with sickle cell. They look very healthy. There are people that feel they are healthy, in quote unquote, and they look slim, in some cases pale. So I've come to realize that it's not true that everybody that has sickle cell disorder has to look pale. And I've also come to realize that they are not sicklers. They are called warriors. Well, I think there's so much awareness now. Unlike in the past, when people go into lifelong relationships without really considering the issue of genotype, because back then a lot of people felt people that give birth to children with sickle cell, like there's one spiritual problem or the other from their family, different family background. You see the groom's side blaming the bride side, see the bride side blaming the groom side. Like there's a spiritual problem in the family. That's why it was a mistake to marry each other and all of that. But currently I have noticed that there's so much awareness now, and because of that, people are beginning to understand the need to be assertive about their genotype, to ascertain their genotype before settling down. In some cases, they even find out before proposal. That way, the level of hurt that one feels will not be that much, even though they say, well, love never dies. But the truth is, the earlier, the better. And I'm happy that people are beginning to appreciate the importance of getting to know your genotype and being sure before you go into a committed relationship like that. Personally, I'm not aware of anyone in my family that has sickle cell disorder, and I'm aware that there are certain genotypes that are not compatible in terms of building a family together and raising children. So if you are AS and your partner is also AS, because if, for example, someone is SS and then you're getting married to another person that is SS, the likelihood of giving birth to a child with sickle cell disorder is very, very, very high. And the truth is, sometimes people can just overlook these things with the feeling that we love each other and then everything will be all right. But the truth is, if you're building a home with somebody, if you're raising children, it goes beyond love. And you cannot really understand how important the place of commitment, perseverance is until you are in it. And I don't think it's something that one should be willing to take a risk. That's the truth. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you want to take it to the next level, it's very important that you understand the place of knowing your genotype. That way, if you end up together, you know that, okay, your genotype and her genotype, or her genotype and your genotype are compatible. You get? So if you're not sure of your genotype, I don't think it's safe for you to take that bold step. To be honest, I'm not sure I know the genotype of any other member of my family except myself, unfortunately. And I only got the interest to know when we're planning to get married. So that was one of the requirements. So we went to the hospitals and we ran the test, and they said I'm AA. Well, first of all, I personally don't believe there's any such thing as golden genotype. Like, you're a human being, you didn't give yourself that genotype. Okay, the fact that somebody is not AA or someone else is not AA doesn't mean they are less human or they are less stronger or healthier than you. I think it's the earlier the better. Okay, even if you don't end up cultivating a long-term relationship with the person, at least it gives you an idea of how this person is. I'm assuming that even if you don't end up together, at least you still be friends, right? Just the same way we try to know people's blood group, we should also make conscious efforts to at least get to understand one another at the basic stage before we develop strong feelings towards the opposite sex. Because if you don't take the step to know at the earlier stage, you might get to know at a point that you're already in too deep, and it's difficult for you to really adjust your feelings and try to see how you can suppress the emotional feelings you have for the other person. So I think the earlier the better. I think reality is with us all the time, and to say that fate will make a way, I don't think it's a wise idea. Okay, because as a Christian, I am aware that the Holy Bible says that faith without work, is useless. And the truth is, if you don't make conscious effort to use the God-given wisdom, right, to guide your decisions, you're going to end up in trouble. Because the reality is, even if you have a child that doesn't have sickle cell disorder, just by being a child, it takes a lot of commitment to raise a child. Then how now do you now cope with the idea that because you believe that faith will make a way, and then you bring a child into this world, and then the child is falling sick more often than not, and then you are feeling like this child is the cause of your trouble. I've come across families where they have a child that has sickle cell disorder, and they believe is that anytime the father receives his salary, that's when the child decides to fall sick. And as a parent, you know that whatever money you are earning, you have to consider the child's education, you have to consider the child's health, you have to consider so many things that have to do with raising the child. Now, if as a parent you have the impression that anytime I receive my salary, my child is sick, like the child is stymieing me, at some point you feel like if there was a way, you wouldn't mind losing that child. That's the truth, because it can get really, really frustrating. Even if you have a child that doesn't have sickle cell disorder, if the child falls sick every time you receive salary, in your mind, this child is just here to ruin me, right? In fact, I've heard of situations where a parent will tell the child, why don't you just die and leave me alone? And I can only imagine that somebody who brought you into this world would be so frustrated enough to want to utter such words. It's discouraging, it's sad, it's heartbreaking. So it's always better to be sure of what you're doing before you bring children into this world, and then they are not happy with their life, and then you are frustrated too. It's not a nice thing.